So, Juliette, let me start with a ancient history. The work for which you were originally known involved social networks and the importance of social networks to the firm and to corporations. Could you say a bit about that and how it led to where you are now?
That's interesting. I think depending on who you speak to, I'd be known for very, very, very different things through my life. But certainly all of these lives have kind of coalesced thanks to connective technology. So on places like Facebook and LinkedIn or Twitter, your past, your present, your future kind of come together, where all of these wonderful people, all of these different relationships help shape how you see yourself, how you see the world, and potentially gain new resources so that you can co-create the future together if you choose to use connected technology that way. And what's really interesting to me is really the people. It's the power of the people. One of the things that I was lucky enough to do when I was fairly young was to work with Richard Salvorman, who was on the stage earlier. And Richard, who is the founder of the TED Conference, was kind enough to kind of take me under his wing, introduce me to a whole new world of thinkers and doers. And all of these people have been able to share information with each other, with the world, about new ways of looking at our potential. And so when I look at connective technology, I look at it as a way that we can co-create, as a way that we can collaborate. When I look at data, I look at it from that perspective as well. So yes, I do consult a great deal with corporate entities as well as with governments and institutions, but it's always from the perspective of we, the people, that we don't get all caught up in the statistics, in the numbers, in the data sets, and forget the correlation with the people, with the relationships, because it's really all about trust. What we decide to share in the future, what we decide to invest our time, energy, data analysis into, should be based on who we want to be as people. So to me, all of these different areas, whether we're talking about creating conferences, whether we're talking about writing books or connective technology or the democratization of data, it's really about what can we do together as human beings? What kind of world do we want to create?
And this has brought you to this very compelling phrase, vibrant data. I say data, you say data. Vibrant data.
Yes.
Could you say a bit about that, both the phrase and what it means and the projects behind it?
So the Vibrant Data Project was brought to my attention as an idea, as a concept. And I'm fortunate enough to be a TED mentor, and my mentee, ironically, is a complexity scientist by the name of Eric Berlow. And Eric was approached by Intel, and specifically their research and innovation division. They wanted to know what they should be looking at in the next 10 to 30 years. Where should that company be investing? And so they thought they'd do a little bit of investigation. Eric turned to me with the idea that, again, I'm really all about the people. What can we, the collective, add to this process of research? So we started out by seeding the Vibrant Data Project with human beings. The idea that we can potentially extract meaning from the data, starting from data to information, information to knowledge, and knowledge into meaning. And not just meaning for corporations, institutions, government, but meaning for the everyday people in their daily lives. And really that's what the project is about. So we started at the TED conference where we interviewed about 30 experts in data, each and every one of them, yes, a data expert, but in very, very different areas, and realized that they're so focused on what they're doing, on their kind of subset of the problem, that very few people are actually looking at the big picture. So with these experts, we were able to kind of map 90 different areas that we decided to examine more closely and realize that there are really 4 core elements that I think anyone, whether you're an expert or a non-expert, will intuitively understand as being very important to our looking at the possibilities of data. So we're talking about digital literacy, right? Digital trust, which is so important these days, and I know we're going to be talking about that a lot tomorrow. There's also the idea of platform transparency, right, and access to digital platforms as a whole. And so the next phase of the project is really about opening it up, about crowdsourcing ideas, questions to ask of these data sets. Where can we go from here where, again, it's not just about the usual suspects asking questions, but the whole world getting a chance to not only give up their data, but also look at their data, think about their data, ask questions of their data, ask each other questions of their data, and perhaps inspire us all to create the kind of world that we'd like to. That's really where vibrant data is coming from. But it's not one person that's going to come up with an answer as to what vibrant data is. That's the idea, is that we all get to answer that question.
So individuals go to the site,
Yep, vibranttdata.org.
and they can sign up.
Yes.
And then what happens if I go to the site?
So if you get to the site, you're going to tell us why you're interested in participating. What's your area of expertise? Whether you are, somebody who works in Bahrain and works on, and these are some of the people that have actually applied. Like, we kind of tweeted it out, and we're incredibly surprised by the feedback that we got. So we've got people from, the World Economic Forum who are like, oh yes, we want to help you map out the vibrant data ecosystem. No-Neck Noel is somebody that, I knew from New York, who's now moved on, and next thing you know, they kind of catch you back by Twitter, 5 years later. And then they say, not only do we want to help you, but we also want to give you data from the World Economic Forum. We've got people that are in Mexico who, again, heard about the project via Twitter, via TED, via The Economist, who knows. But the point is that they found us somehow and then decided that they found that the ecosystem that we began to map out through the so-called experts reflects their day-to-day lives in terms of being able to capture the information that's going on around them with their smartphones, uploading it to Twitter, the whole process of converting that into usable information to be able to share their stories where there is no freedom of the press. So very, very concrete examples in their lives that are then injected back into the project. And now we're at the next phase where Intel, again, has been incredible in terms of seeding the project through their research division. But this isn't just about, again, a corporation or a group of experts. This is about all of us. So how do you move on? How do you keep asking questions that are actually relevant to the day-to-day person without funding?
So if I've signed up for the vibrant data, and I'm sharing my information, my data, my observations, and I'm seeing other people's.
Well, first and foremost, you're helping us map the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the relationships between different areas that are relevant to you in your life, in your day-to-day, in your industry? And from there, we're only going to the first and second degrees and trying to find, again, those core elements. And what is it that we missed? Because again, I don't really believe that there is one particular expert in this area. No one knows what the network knows. And it's about getting back to people. So the more people that can go through it and tell us what we're missing, the more complete the ecosystem will actually be to be able to identify the areas that we can nourish better, that have the largest impact on the whole of the data that's vibrant, that actually benefits the world as opposed to just the institutions and the corporations.
And for the analytics, for want of a better word, do you see a kind of synthesis of all these observations and contributions emerging from the?
Yeah, and what we're starting to do is also tell stories around them, because again, if you want to involve the everyday person into this conversation, you have to have different types of dialogue. You're a linguist, you understand that probably better than I do. The idea that you can tell the story of we the data in terms of the Arab Spring Revolution, which is something that just about anybody in the world can understand. They can understand people feeling that they're oppressed and that they need to change the world, and then the tools that they're using and the data, how that's influencing their behavior, right, which is feeding back into the system in a feedback loop. And we're seeing that here in America with the Occupy Wall Street movements. But we're also seeing it in terms of the corporations and the bottom lines and all of this malaise with people that are dealing with data and aren't quite sure where to go, how can we do it, how much is it going to cost. We're talking about a $54 billion industry. By 2017, we're living in a world where 92% of children under the age of 2 already have an online profile, and we don't have the answers. But if we begin the conversation in different ways where different types of people can participate, I think that we can hopefully find better solutions than we have so far.
Well, thank you very much. I see by the old clock on the floor that it's time to
yes.
to
well,
move
thank
along,
you.
to move down the couch.
Thank you so much.